You did a logo for Metallica, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's Jonas Ackerlund who commissioned me. That one was very stressful because he contacted me one day before I jet off to Japan, and he needed this logo literally on the same day.
Hey folks, welcome to Unsung podcast. My name is Mark. I'm joined by Christopher.
Christopher,
yes.
yeah.
And this week we have our guest with us, Chris.
Yes, we are joined by Christophe Szpajdel. Am I pronouncing your name okay?
Christophe Szpajdel, yes.
Szpajdel. And we've been trying to hook something up with Christophe, but he's a busy man and we are fighting technical gremlins, but we've got it working. But Mark, before we get to the interview, you got any admin to get out the road for?
If you're watching this on YouTube, then please give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. And if you're listening on a podcast app, then please share and subscribe as well. All these things really help us get to more people, and that's exactly what we want. We want more people to see awesome interviews like this. So
it's free content, but we do have other stuff that if you subscribe, if you become a subscriber on Patreon in particular, you get access to bonus material, interesting shows that don't go out to the general public, and Christmas specials where we get a little bit loose. But this is a special show for us. I met Christophe many years ago now in Glasgow when he was touring an exhibition of his work. We're going to, if for some reason you've not seen Christophe's work and you've been living under a rock, we're going to introduce you to it. But I think what we're probably more likely going to do is you'll be like, oh, that's the guy that did this and this and this. And so it's going to be nice to introduce you to the man behind the motifs, or the Lord of the Logos, as he is kind of more commonly known. Graphic designer, artist, and author with a book due out later this month. Is that right, Christophe?
I actually have released two books. Lord of the Logos, it was in 2011, in early days of January. It was supposed to be released in 2010, just before Christmas, so people could actually, it was supposed to be first released on Black Friday, but then it has been delayed, and it finally came out in January 2011.
Black
and
Metal Friday.
I did a few presentations of that book. The official release party, there were two. One UK release party in Plymouth in April 2011 with a gig of Dragged into Sunlight as main stars. And later on, literally a few weeks, was the only European release party, which happened at the Steel Warriors Rebellion Metal Fest in Barroselas in Portugal. The festival must be known to bands like Cerebral Bore, who are your homies.
Yes, indeed they are, yeah.
I believe they are from Glasgow.
That's right,
We'll come back to the books in a little bit more detail later on, but have you got one coming out called Oracles in Black soon?
Correct. This one is in the process of writing. The reason why Oracles in Black, that was actually an idea completely made by my publisher, Alex Milazzo from Heavy Music Artwork. As you see, this guy is very unpredictable, because once he said the sales are not enough, but then he comes back with some new ideas, then he disappears, then he reappears. You know, a bit like someone who does play game, but rather than following him by the word, I just let him go in and out, and I mind my own business and go on with my day. Just continuing producing the logo, agreeing with everything he says, just agreeing, because that's the best way to disarm an opponent or someone who is just to agree with him, with everything he says, and then you just go with the flow. You just mind your own business. You just get on with your day. A bit like Ukrainian people who are showing resilience in spite of schools, hospitals, and all infrastructure being bombed and being shelled. Ukrainians are continuing their everyday life.
Yeah, this is a cause that's very important to you, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in some detail because I know it's really central to a lot of your work just now, and it's something you
A
raise
lot.
money and attention for. You'll excuse the obvious question, but approximately how many logos have you done now? Last time I saw it said 10,000.
About between 10 and I would say between 10 and 15. But I have a goal.
You have a goal?
I would like
Okay.
to have done by 2030.
Uh-huh.
By the end of 2030, I would like to have completed 20,000 logos.
Wow.
That's a goal I have set.
Okay, yeah.
The count of logos I had so far is kind of vague because I didn't quite think about that. And when I'm saying that, is also that one logo example, let's say, one logo can have multiple versions. The latest logo I've completed is actually the logo I did for a band called Ataraxion. So this is basically the core original version, which is the naked one. But then I did also a version which is based on the original sketch that I have scanned and ink.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I had done a more refined version. So you can see
Wow.
that there are different versions. One is more wild, the spontaneous, the one below. And the one above is a version which is more symmetric and looking more civilized. It looks more docile than the original sketch.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think
So basically, the technique I am using for that one is to have. I've done a few pencil sketches like this.
Yep.
And the sketch that they like most, I've inked it.
Okay.
And then I scanned to have just that field. And then I printed it on an A4 paper. And then I did one version where I just line draw using an artograph like this, an artograph light pad. And the other, this one, for instance, I've just used the printed version and added ornaments.
Yeah.
Because they said that they want the logo to be inspired by the Crypta logo.
Okay.
So that's the important thing of having the full scale. Because before I was doing small sketches and then I've tried to redraw from far. And they usually turn around said, as much as we absolutely loved the sketch with this new, you have lost the magic. The proportions are not the same. We basically don't feel it anymore. It's with just this one, you I don't know. It's like when stars are no longer aligning.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like
that must be
sort of-
frustrating as an experience as well.
That's why now I'm using a small sketch like this one. And then I scan it and then I print it. And then I can line draw and use the artograph, the light pad, like this one, for instance.
Oh,
yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool.
And then I have it full scale. And I have the proportion because the ratio here, you see, when I do small sketches, the ratio is conserved. The ratio is maintained.
Yeah.
And it's got the sort of, magic ratio.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
actually have
Which
we actually have experience of this, Christoph, because you did the logo for our podcast, the one that's on the back wall.
Unsung.
Yeah, of the studio right now. You also actually
Yeah.
did a logo for a tattoo that I've got on my right arm. So I've
Yes.
enjoyed watching your process play out over the years. We get the early
Yeah.
sketches, we kind of pick sort of our favorites from that, and then you sort of simmer that down and kind of like it matures into something that more sophisticated and fleshed out. It's a
Yeah.
really interesting process, the back and forth. We will ask you a little bit more about that process shortly. But I just want to
Yeah.
fill the audience in a little bit more on your background. You were
Yes.
born in September 1970 in Gembloux in Belgium.
Blue
Uh,
in Belgium.
yep.
Yes.
Grew up in Louvain-la-Neuve. You've
Louvain-la-Neuve.
yeah,
Yes, it's
you've
the
got
city where I grew up.
Polish and Ukrainian heritage, and as I said, we'll come back to the Ukrainian side of that. Moved to the UK in 2003. You currently live in Exeter, and
Actually, earlier than 2003.
oh, really?
2000.
2000.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. You work in the co-op, which has led to you being a bit
Correct.
a low-key local celebrity because certainly the papers in Exeter in particular enjoy the contrast between your very inconspicuous day job and the fact that you rub elbows with the metal world and in recent years people like Rihanna and Hollywood producers and things. I think an obvious thing to ask you is being an artist, does having a day job prevent you becoming a recluse? Does it keep you connected to the world a little bit?
Exactly. Exactly. Not only that, it keeps me connected with the reality. A day job helps me to have a schedule, but most importantly, is to have multiple sources of income. To
Yeah.
have about £1,000 out of my art. Let's say £1,500 to £2,000, depending of the amount of shift, because it's variable hours. It's a 12 hours contract, and on top of this, there is extra hours that I'm often required to do, but I do at least 20 hours a week.
Mhm.
And some weeks I can do up to 60 hours when I have to cover a lot of absences.
Yeah.
Like it has been the case between October last year and March, where I have worked during that half a year a lot more hours, but also I can have flexibility to take holidays, but also unpaid leaves, as I have used up already all my holidays
Mhm.
for this year.
Mhm.
So I'm still allowed to take unpaid leaves for my travels. Could be travels to go to see my mum to Belgium, like it could be also travels to some art-related events, like recently Italy, where I covered Turin, Ferrara, Venice, Trieste, and Verona.
Mhm.
So I
Nice.
went through several cities in Italy, and I had both metal related art and also purely art related for as a part of a group of different disciplines,
Mhm.
and just looking at the art only aspect without the whole metal context.
Yeah,
So that
you've done a mural or two in Exeter, haven't you? Do you have any other outlets that you use for your art beyond the graphic design?
beyond the graphic designs, it was the Earth Day, where I have made a special messages. The other beyond one is something I need to show you. This is actually a project I'm working on. It's gonna be for a Polish calendar,
Mhm.
and I created the logos in colors. This is going to be a Polish calendar with January, February,
Oh wow.
March, April, May, June, uh, July, August,
All the months.
September,
Wow.
October, November and December.
So cool.
So I'm
Perfect calendar. 12 months.
I'm working together with designer. Have you ever heard of Sataniets? Sataniets is actually printing also t-shirts of lots of bands, among other Plastic Head, directly. And I have received as a gift on my last trip in Poland, because they happened to be in Busko at the same location where I was at the festival of folk song, the traditional song
Oh, wow, there
of
it is.
Pelon. And this is actually the Emperor official t-shirts,
Yep.
because that's been negotiated directly with Plastic Head and with Emperor, because with printing shirts he goes directly with Plastic Head, and that is an official, that is not a bootleg.
Yeah.
That's he does official patented t-shirts, and so I am looking at releasing with as well his designing album cover artworks.
Uh-huh.
So we're looking to design a calendar, and we're looking to be ready by early September.
Okay.
Because on the 29th of September, I am planning the launch of the calendar. The official launch in the thermal city of Busko, which is in the southeast of Poland. It's actually a spa town.
All right.
And it's in the southeast of Poland.
So that t-shirt, the t-shirt that you're wearing, the Emperor logo, is actually a really significant one to you. So I think we'll work our way towards that, though, by just talking about music for very briefly here. You are obviously known for your work with heavy metal. I'd been reading some interviews with you and understand that Motörhead changed your life. Is that true? How did that happen?
It's definitely one of the bands that has changed my life. But there is also Black Sabbath. There is also Deep Purple as one of the, and Kiss, Kiss really being the first in 78.
I'm a big Kiss fan.
Yeah. The album Dynasty, but that was not the album that changed my life. That's basically the album that triggered, because the change of my life has not been abrupt from one day to another. It's been progressive, it's, for example, like water is eroding the rock.
Kiss wore you down.
It was done very progressively.
Yeah.
But because of being repeated, the water ended up eroding the rock. So there was the first strike, then it was another strike. There was also Venom, Welcome to Hell, Motörhead, Rock and Roll, this AC/DC. But I would say I was more attracted to bands like Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Motörhead, King Diamond.
Is it true that Celtic Frost is your number one?
It's definitely the number one, and especially the song Procreation of the Wicked and the album Morbid Tales and To Megatherium. That is basically where Celtic Frost got me hooked up.
Did you ever contact them about doing a logo?
No, because they've got a great logo and they inspired me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I basically come for the point that I've contacted smaller bands with who I wanted to do some logos for back in the 80s, late 80s.
So your first one was a Polish band called Totistus, is that right? In 87?
Yes.
And your first, shall we say, important logo was around about 1989, the band Disgrace from Finland. When did you realize?
Correct.
When did you realize you were good at this? Like, when did you realize I've got a real talent for this?
It was like back in 88 when I just started doodling logos in my school books. And I just started feeling that I might not have been talented in that beginning, but this is what been itching me to do. That's the sort of things that was going on my head, all the lettering, and especially combination of Art Nouveau with sharp medieval fonts.
Mhm.
That
And
is what triggered me. And
Art Deco as well, is that right? You quite like Art Deco for certain styles of
I
designs.
did several Art Deco logos. There's actually a band from Glasgow I was kind of interested working with, a band called Solstheim, which I don't know if they still are going, but Scotland has some really great band like Har, Barshasketh. There's also Lord of the Flies or something like that, Scumples. So it's a different scene than the black metal scene. It's also a sort of power violence metal band,
Yeah.
metal
love that.
scene as well. I think there was a band called Vinsval or something like that. I can't remember that name when I was in Glasgow in 2003.
Well,
Wow.
I got sent a list of Scottish metal bands recently by the folks at Metal Gigs for Scotland, and there was more than 600 names on it.
Oh my God.
So it's a big metal scene, but you're right, there is quite a lot of kind of power violence and grind stuff going on. Which other early works helped you get established? Like, which of your earlier designs, aside from Disgrace, really helped kind of put you on the map? Kind of obviously making a nod towards your T-shirt just now as well.
Emperor is actually the band that defined my name, simply because this logo is a very simple yet impactful logo.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple because, as opposed to most of the black metal bands, that logo is inspired by Gothic and Old English typography.
Yeah.
But it's still maintained very clear with very clean lines. And when I did the Emperor logo, I just took the band by surprise. I basically had a clear vision because the guys of Emperor were very young at that time when they formed the band. And it's a matter of timing because the letter was from Thomas Haugen, also known as Samoth,
Yep.
that me and Isan, me and Vegard, that's the name, Vegard, are actually forming a band called Emperor, which is metal of unholy darkness, because we're kind of reacting of frustration, and we're overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed by all these death metal bands popping around in 91. At that time in Norway, some bands who were of importance, it was Old Funeral, Cadaver, Amputation, and they're basically the band that became the ingredient, the semina of bands like Immortal and bands like Burzum.
You were working on a fanzine at the time, weren't you? Septicor. Is that how you
Yes,
crossed paths with these?
Septicor was a fanzine that Thierry has founded in 88. And the guy was living very close to where I was living, Louvain-la-Neuve. He was living in Limal. That was literally a stone throw away. And that's the reason why being a stone throw away helped me to connect very quickly and to be able to travel very short distances.
Yeah.
And a friendship developed, and the fanzine took its shape. Well, most of other people were into mainstream and things like that, I really wanted to go in my vocation of metal. And that's also what made me exposed to having lots of contacts, making a lot of contacts in the underground metal scene, discovering a lot of bands, and some really great bands that I've discovered back in the early 90s. It was drawing a lot of logos as well. But there is a Chilean artist that really inspired me back in 89 and 90. It's Enrique Zuniga, a Chilean artist who actually did logos of some of my favorite bands like Sadism, Death Yell, Atomic Aggressor, which is his band, which is a band I really like, Atomic Aggressor. And, people who are in mainstream metal have completely missed, but this is one of the my favorite sort of thrashy, deathy, this kind of death metal, which is more on the thrash edge than, think about early Sepultura of the Schizophrenia time and Morbid Visions.
Yeah.
That's what I call thrash death metal.
So, well, sorry, I was going to say in terms of influences as well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I understand a really big part of your influence comes from nature. So you studied, is it agriculture at university?
Agriculture, forestry.
Yeah, and you got a degree in forestry engineering.
Yeah,
And I think like the Lord of the Logos book shows your logos alongside natural
correct.
sources of inspiration, landscapes, plants. Is it true that you feel most creative outdoors?
I actually love being outdoors. I love being in the heart of nature. And most importantly is I do artworks, and Art Nouveau is directly linked with nature. It's actually the cult of nature and the spirit of nature, and it's my favorite current because some logos, even let's say this logo that I wanted to share with you, that is for a collective, Omnia Witness Collective, as you can see, is a perfect example of Art Nouveau logo.
That's really good.
That's
like that.
Art Nouveau at its strongest and purest way. Another Art Nouveau logo I did, it was inspired by Barcelona, is El Bosque de les Fades that I would like to share with you. I got it here because I participated in a lot of art books like this one, Velázquez Goya Prize. And that is an example of an Art Nouveau.
Oh, yeah.
logo.
Wow. It's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
And that's Art Nouveau, and it's very inspired by Barcelona. So Barcelona has been a huge inspiration for me.
And what gets you in the right mood? I read a quote by you that said, "What is exciting is that I get the best logos done when I am utterly angry or obsessed by death." So, what puts you in a creative frame of mind?
There is the excitement. I've seen some Art Nouveau architecture, and I just said I would love to come up with something directly inspired by this style. So my art actually has a lot to do with Art Nouveau. Like you can see, it's a combination of rounded and sharp forms, and also that all the letters form a harmony. So you can see there is no gaps. The logo is fully consistent.
Yeah.
And that is actually thanks to the whole Art Nouveau current, where it's to maximize and optimize both positive and negative space. Example of positive and negative space, the AT. You've got the negative space between the A and the T, and then inside the M, how two letters are counterbalancing one letter.
Yeah, you can see that, man. It does form a kind of a real harmony and symmetry. I think you said that symmetry is quite important to some extent as well, haven't you?
Yes, I have an obsession for symmetry.
Do you
I
often do you often get creative block? And how do you deal with it if you get a creative block?
Basically, if I have a creative block, I'm sort of taking a break, going on an excursion, and usually the creative block happens when clients are giving me free. When a creative block happens when a client has very tight expectations.
Mhm.
That's causing a creative block. It was the case of a band called Dead Wire, which is from South Korea. And I think I got the logo right here. An example that caused me a creative block. And I had the creative block for about 3 months.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I just said I would, as much as I would love to do the logo, I'm going to focus on other assignments. But this guy persevered. This is their current logo.
Mm-hmm.
I've got somewhere the initial sketches. The initial sketches were actually these ones. That were my first initial sketches. But that means that maybe not that one, but I have done some other sketches before, and they were very long interruptions of communication. There was a 1 month break of communication because it was not clicking.
Yeah.
But the creative block happened when he explains me that he wanted the logo.
Okay. It's
That is what caused me a creative block.
yeah.
Okay.
So a client actually can cause a creative block to happen
Mhm.
by simply showing me elements that I want the logo to be very much inspired by this or by that.
Yeah.
Or when the client doesn't give me any creative freedom, because I actually like to do my own things. And when some clients, when they see my first sketches, they lose their deposit. Yeah, that's an example. This was actually the first sketches. That's a sketches where I had a creative block, but
Mhm.
I forced myself to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely not like what they seemed to be going for, but yeah.
So I just kind of forced myself, and I just said, "Fuck it! I just gonna, I just gonna come up with whatever I feel." And all the sketches have been rejected.
See,
So there's
in terms of your process, I know there's a lot of back and forth with
yeah,
the clients, and also I've noticed from our own experiences is you try and do as much as you can to avoid recycling
yeah,
ideas that you've done before. Um, could you maybe, for people that are watching and don't understand, could you just quickly explain that process? You know, people get in touch and say, "Hi, we want you to do
yeah.
something." I'm
Well,
sorry, I
the
realize
process,
you've probably done this 100 times, but it's interesting
yeah,
for people
the
to hear.
process is actually very interesting because we are currently working on a process of a logo called Drag,
Yes,
which is actually yourself
it
and
is.
somewhere
This
in
was not
here.
this was not rehearsed.
Yeah. So I came with the first sketches, with the first where this were the first sketches, and the response on the sketches is, although the sketches are very interesting, and I've tried to do something along these lines, something what the sketches you have shown me,
Yeah.
because I've been looking only at the sketches. I have taken actually prints of
All right.
all.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, I've made prints because then I can pin them on the wall. and I don't have to scroll the computer because I have them, like, for example, let's say I have this one, and that text. I have them all one next to the other.
Yep.
So when I have them on paper, I can actually pin them on the wall, and I can have everything in one place.
You're quite a kind of physical person in that sense, because you do most of this work hand drawn. You know, I don't know if you still do it, but you used to have it digitized by graphic designers, didn't you?
I still work with a digitalist
Yeah.
graphic designer because I've tried to digitize myself, but it took me much longer than doing the logo itself. So computers, well, I like computers, but computers don't like me.
Okay. Well, we
That's the
found that out
problem.
today. They don't like us either earlier on today. So.
Computers don't like me. I actually, when I did the drag logo, I took this one as an inspiration.
Yep.
That's cool.
And actually, that logo inspired me. That logo actually inspired me to do that logo that you have sent me here.
Yep.
Inspired me to do a logo for something completely different.
Amazing.
A lady from Ukraine called Irin.
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
Happy to be of
Because
service.
it was Standard Art who works together with me.
Yep.
He's an artist, and he released quite a few books like Sketches of Pain.
Yeah.
He's a Ukrainian from Mykolaiv who lives currently in Hollywood, LA, and he's connecting with lots of Hollywood celebrities.
All right. His work's
So
brilliant. Really good
he
stuff.
asked me to do fan art logos. If you look on Instagram, Standard Art,
Mhm.
he's got up to hundreds, thousands of followers.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. Really good.
And I'm encouraging anyone who is looking for an album cover artwork or illustrations to have him. So this is another drag list of sketches.
For the audience, we get 2 sheets in this case of really quite different. And you're like, oh, we could go that direction. That would be great. But we could also go that direction. That could be great.
Yeah.
Just off had done some that are quite geometric, almost like if you remember the film The Keep, that kind of like vanishing point type thing. And then it's some that were very kind of naturalistic and sinewy and like branches and stuff. And so sometimes it's actually hard to be like, I like all of these directions, but which one do we decide on? Because we have to commit. And that's kind of sometimes the hardest part is choosing, because there's so many options in front of you, is actually choosing like which one do we want to go with. So yeah,
Christophe, can I ask you a question? When you get feedback like you got from Chris, how do you react to that? Like, how does that make you feel? Like, how do you process that?
I basically need to take a few more days. It's never response when everything is too hot.
Yeah.
Let it cool down. What is making me a bit freaking out is when a client says, hey, when are you going to send me an update? And it's just an hour after, because I do have people who are very impatient, and mostly
that
people
is not us, by the way. For the record, we are not guilty of that. So we did not chase anything.
but people from mostly California, LA. Mostly. I have specifically people from around LA or people from the south of America, the south of the USA, the southerners.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, Christophe, because this takes me on to the next subject. It was to do with readability. And I think like, that's a really interesting phenomenon in your art form. In fact, I think Emperor had actually made a comment about that, about what's the point of a logo? I think it was. Yeah, he said, what's the point of a logo if you can't read it? And I know that's not always the case with these. You may have seen them yourself. Have you ever seen the memes of the pile of branches or the leather kit that's all folded up?
Too often. And actually, because I've seen that meme too often, I got irritated.
Yeah. What do you think about logos that are absolutely illegible? Because you've said in the past, I prefer my logos to be simple but have a kick. They also need to have a certain readability. But I know that like some of the works you've done, I think there's acts like a Gourmented and Grave Coven. those were quite illegible logos. But where do you stand on that? What's your personal preference?
My personal preference is a logo which is unreadable, will not be memorable, and it's a logo that will just disappear in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So people like that, they have a very short span of attention.
Yeah.
Why Metallica is such popular? Because they're catchy. Why Emperor are still doing gigs and they are a band that stands out that you can put next. Emperor is actually a band that you can put next to AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Motörhead, Metallica, Rammstein, because they are very distinctive, because they got an identity. Literally, the split of the second, they strike like a close lightning strike, bam, like that, you'll know, bam, wow, this kind of bushy logos, to be honest, they're gonna get lost in the shuffle because they are unreadable, and now people are not bothered to see what it means. They just say, oh, it says something, oh well, move on. They move on very quickly. People have a very short span of attention.
That makes
So
a lot of
bands will-
sense. That does make a lot of sense intuitively because it will be harder to remember it if it's just
Yep.
a mess
Well,
on a page.
Yep.
Even if it looks nice, it's not going to have a lasting impact.
Well, what I could kind of input into that myself is like, so as someone that works in marketing and comes from a marketing background, making a logo which making any kind of logo, you want it to be very distinctive, right? People can
distinctive,
remember it. And
simple, easy
yeah,
to read,
absolutely.
distinctive, instantly recognizable.
Yeah.
That are the key pointers for a logo. It
Yeah,
needs to be effective.
You've picked out I think it was a Coca-Cola logo as being a
Yeah.
particularly great and enduring piece of design. I think you mentioned Leonard Skinner's band logo as well as being another
Correct.
classic piece of
Be-
work.
Because it's distinctive.
So Mark, how do you see that playing out when people go for the more complicated logo?
Well, so I think that what to kind of to Christoph's point there, you know, is I think metal, the subgenres, right? Metal, punk, and all that. There are definitely people within those genres who like to really revel in the fact that they are not mainstream and thus they kind of come from a
Esoteric.
a bit
Yeah.
difficult to understand. So having a logo which is unreadable plays into that. You need to be part of the in crowd in order to understand the logo
Yes.
and the band and the and the aesthetic. You know.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think what's really interesting about your work, Christoph, is it actually sits in the kind of it sits in the cusp of that.
Yeah.
You know, clearly you've done some logos for some very famous people, Ed Sheeran,
Yes.
Rihanna. You know,
Yes.
these are mainstream artists who have looked at your work and went, "That's really interesting," because
Yes.
Christoph has done work for artists who are not
Yeah.
as big as we are, and they
Yeah.
want you're kind of they're incorporating that
Yeah.
language.
They're
and
appropriating it a
yeah,
little bit.
I don't know if appropriating is really the word because in order to appropriate something, it needs to be against that. I think Rihanna,
Yeah.
for example, isn't somebody that we would probably listen to, but I think popular artists have always been really good at bringing in some of the best at bringing in imagery which is outside of the mainstream.
Can I throw a word in here? I think there's a little bit of irony in it. And Christoph, I'd be curious to know about your thoughts on this. So yes, Rihanna used that, and it had impact because it was it was so counter to what she represents as a mainstream pop artist. What I think's a bit more confusing is when bands that are alternative, let's say Chatpile are a good example here, use an incredibly imperceptible logo and it feels almost a little bit sarcastic, or it feels like, is that slightly disrespectful? Is that a bit appropriating? Is that irony a little bit boring? You know,
I think in the beginning it was great. It was great with the Rihanna that they approached that. Actually, it was a company called William Perron. So it's not Rihanna herself who
Yeah.
approached me.
You met them on
But
a subway or something, didn't you?
it was very complicated because with Rihanna, I've got tricked into a thought that it was just metal, somebody who just liked my metal aesthetics, and she wanted to make herself a Rihanna logo, and it was the lady that I had bumped on the tube in London when I was going back to Exeter. It was on the tube from Canada waters to Victoria.
Mhm.
And she had something that made me hand a business card.
Mhm.
And a week later, she contacted me regarding this specific logo, the logo for Rihanna. So I've quoted as it was a client.
Like a typical
just a
everyday
simple-
client, like an unsung podcast or a drag.
Yes, a bit like, low key.
Yeah, yeah.
So the total price ended up being £500.
That's crazy.
And it could have been, if I had not this people changing and this like chain correspondence and back and forth that I gonna transfer this to to the team like that. So we've been transferring to I would probably get a lot more
Yeah.
money.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean,
also, I had at that time a manager. His name was Kevin Eisenlord. And Kevin, unfortunately, was unavailable to help me, to do all the admin work. He was unavailable.
Damn, Kevin.
And that has caused that it came only £500 and not £2,000.
oh,
Yeah.
at least
At
for
least.
the audience's benefit, this logo ended up 100 feet high at the MTV
Yep.
VMA Awards.
Yeah,
Correct.
completely out of the blue. Nobody expected it, and it was just there. Like Christoph, when you reflect on that experience now, do you feel as though you were kind of tricked almost, to put it like quite simply, like quite crudely, I suppose? Do you feel as though you weren't really told the whole story behind why the logo was getting created?
In fact, from what I heard, because nobody from the team of Willow Perron told me, they only told me after that it was something for Rihanna, the actual Rihanna. I just realized it was for the actual Rihanna when the correspondence have been handed over from one person to another.
Mhm. Was that after you gave them a price?
Yes.
That's mercenary, is what that is.
So it was very bizarre.
I
And
mean,
at that time,
to tell the
didn't
audience
have-
here as well, Christoph did this logo between shifts at the co-op. I think you were working in Sidmouth Library on design.
I work at the Queen Street Co-op,
Mhm.
but when it was the time of Rihanna logo, I was actually in Sidmouth
Yeah.
because I was working morning at the co-op, and in the afternoon I was enjoying the Sidmouth Folk Festival with lots of Morris dancing. Yeah, there was lots of Morris dancing
So-
around.
To put this in context, okay, so Christoph, you're saying you got paid round about £500. A ticket to see Rihanna can easily cost £800. One ticket
That's
to see Rihanna. So there is definitely not a proportionality in terms of what Christoph got paid. But I understand that then affected your pricing going forward, didn't it? You had to change.
Yes, I've sort of organized a real price packages, and that was together with Kevin Eisenlord.
Mhm.
We have, and then it was elaborated by my web designer, Seiya from Ogino Design in Japan and New Zealand. So it was sort of consolidated, and I came up with a different pricing option, being the mini budget package, which is for people who have little budget. It's €70, roughly £50, and it's just a couple of sketches to choose from, one final product, and then €50 for each revision.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The
Okay.
second, which is the classic one, the one that I really push the client to go with, is the classic. Is basically 200 euros. It's a page of sketches like I did for drag,
Mhm.
with a couple of revisions among the sketches. One final product, vectorization included. It's simple and straightforward
Yep.
because it actually helps to give a lot of options. When I was not giving clients enough options, usually they said, "Thank you very much for all the sketches, but it's not what we're looking for. We're going to look elsewhere."
Yep.
Most of the time, if they don't see enough option, they're gonna look elsewhere. They're not gonna ask, "Can you do more sketches?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This now we are coming to an epoch. It has evolved. If it was 10 years ago, they would be asking for more sketches. Can we see more options?
So in terms of other big clients, might as well put some names in here. You did a logo for Metallica, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's Jonas Ackerlund who commissioned me. That one was very stressful because he contacted me one day before I jet off to Japan, and he needed this logo literally on the same day
Oh wow.
Wow.
because he came with the idea to do a clip for the album Self-Wired to Self-Destruct. The Mankind logo, I did just one sketch and it was immediately adapted.
Yeah.
But the logo of Metallica, that was something that there were some issues with the translation. So Mr. Jonas Ackerlund has delegated his collaborator to meet me at Heathrow Airport. And we sat 3 hours. So I came about 5 hours prior to my flight to Japan. And then we sat down. He's been filming me drawing the logo, and the logo was adapted. I gave him the original and jetted off to Japan. And when I arrived in Japan, the video of Metallica was already out.
Wow.
Wow, man.
So
Wow.
this was, and I had at that time a manager. His name was Kevin Eisenlord. At that time, I've asked him to do all the chasing. And Kevin had to chase the guy for at least a year and a half
Wow.
before getting the money.
Goodness me.
That's fucking crazy.
Because
Wow.
you do have people who are really bad with payments
Yeah, of
and
course.
on super size. And in 1 week, that video of Metallica, Mankind, has got 1.5 million of views in just 1 week alone.
That's a wow.
I mean,
There is
there were
a
other
Brazilian
breakthrough moments as well. I mean, your Foo Fighters logo came about in a completely different way, didn't it? That was to do
Yeah,
with some merchandise they put out.
yeah, correct. And basically, I've been tagged on, that was in 2014. I was tagged on Facebook, and there was this shitty Christmas jumper logo, which was literally a mutilation of my Emperor logo. So I reacted in a very different way. I have just posted my own version of the Foo Fighters logo, and I just said, "This is for you guys, a very short but brilliant opportunity to make your own Foo Fighters Christmas jumper, which actually bootlegs is better than an official." So I was inciting people to come up with bootlegs
Yeah.
Christmas jumpers, and it worked because bootlegs appeared very shortly. And actually bootlegs were selling well. And I just released the logo and allowed people to make bootlegs. Well, it's a little bit like dog eat dog.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
You know, you mess
Fight fire
with
with fire.
you know, you fuck me, I will fuck you harder. But you know, the Ukrainian way.
So, and then one that I think went slightly better, you did the logo for the cover of the Mandy soundtrack, the excellent film, Nicolas Cage film, didn't you?
Yes.
How did
Correct.
Panos Cosmatos find you? I know he's a big metal fan because I've seen him in a Sleep t-shirt before.
Yeah, and actually, Panos Cosmatos contacted me in 2012
All right.
for the logo.
Wow.
So
that's a long
that
time before.
project was dormant because he told me at that time it was a short story.
All
Oh,
right.
okay.
It's more of a short story, and I didn't know he was a filmmaker. And again, I had made the logo for a very affordable price of 150 euros in 2012.
Oof,
So, but the film came out in 2019.
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And did you hear from him in between?
Almost nothing, because I was just minding my own business. And I was just going through lots of emails. So I didn't quite, and at that time I had no management at all.
Mhm.
And now I'm without management. And I had a few managers, but it turned to be more hassle than because they were not doing what I've asked them to do.
Mhm.
I've asked them to basically take the matter in their hands for bigger clients.
Yeah.
I mean, just out of curiosity, Christophe, if you were to do a logo for, let's say they were reissuing a film, is there any film, classic kind of horror film, let's say like The Thing or Alien or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, anything that jumps out that you would love to redesign the logo for?
I definitely would like to redesign the logo for Amityville.
All right, good
Yeah.
choice.
Good,
Yeah.
good
I
choice.
love to do Silence of the Lambs,
That would be that would be very cool. Yeah.
the Blair Witch Project.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
When You Meet the Unbelievers, which is a paranormal project.
Okay.
When You Meet the Unbelievers.
By the way, here's an interesting bit of coming full circle. When I was trying to describe letters made of sticks or branches, I was thinking about in Blair Witch, you know, the things that they find hanging in the trees.
Yes.
Aye. So when you were asking about the Draga guide, that's the kind of thing I was trying to articulate. Those branches that are tied together to make sort of
Yes.
like letter shapes. Um, See, in terms of nowadays, Christophe, obviously we are in the era of AI. Since your work exploded, there are numerous people, but sometimes not even people, attempting the same thing. I know there are some artists that you do recommend and that you respect, but how do you feel about the market for these logos currently? It seems to have exploded, but there seem to be a lot of impersonators.
It has exploded, and it's basically something uncontrollable. It's like COVID. You need to learn to live with COVID. You need also to learn to live with the super El Nino, which is scheduled to happen this summer.
So we're living in the super El Nino of metal logos. But are you still? Do you feel the standard has gone down overall?
Unfortunately, the standard is going down, and a lot of people, if they don't reply, that means it's cheaper for them to get an AI generated logo.
Right. Yeah.
So they're not going to be bothered to answer. What happened is they contact me, how much do you charge for a logo? And when I said $200, I never hear from them. So basically, it's like the frog that needs to lay 20,000 eggs, and out of 20,000 eggs, there will be one adult frog.
Yeah. Understand. Yeah.
Out of 20,000 eggs.
Yeah. AI is. Yeah. I mean, there's really no corner to hide
Is it
from it.
eating the world?
Yeah. And now, Christophe, we said we were going to come back to the politics. Obviously, you mentioned Ukraine there. You're very outspoken on some issues, to your credit. One of them being the Russian invasion of Ukraine from 2014, but especially from 2022 onwards. I recall a story about you brawling with a Russian flatmate. Is that true?
Correct. That was actually in 2004.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay, getting early.
Yeah, there was a Russian flatmate who really threatened, and I've already had previous bad experience with Russians. Because they hate Poles.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
they hate Poles because they are angry that Poles are not thanking Stalin. Because he said, if you didn't have, and he said the same, if you didn't have Stalin, you would be under Nazi occupation these days. You should be very thankful to Stalin. You should be giving him a bunch of flowers, should be laying a bunch of flowers every single day and make a prayer to Stalin for having saved from the Nazi occupation. But
So he
don't
doesn't
get
know
it
about
wrong.
the Katyn forest then? He doesn't know any of that sort of stuff.
The Katyn forest, Russia was far worse than Hitler.
Yeah.
They murdered a lot more people. The gulags in Siberia were exactly a replica of the concentration camps in Auschwitz. There was absolutely no difference. Actually, the Russians made it even worse.
They were a big killing machine. The numbers do dwarf what the Nazis managed to achieve. Have you ever had any cross words with any of your past clients on their politics? Have any of them been upset about your stance on Ukraine or anything like that?
Yes, quite a few. And quite a few bands actually have changed their logo.
Wow. Okay.
Yep, quite a significant amount of bands. They've ditched their logo
That's interesting.
because, and especially there is a label from Chicago. The RIP Productions. They've released the first demo of Usurper.
Mhm.
They released Skullview, Scythe. They've released a lot of the Celtic Frost tribute bands from Chicago.
Uh-huh.
One of them being Ezurate. That's
Is-
one of the bands from Chicago.
What's their stance on it? Are they like strongly anti-NATO or are they very strongly
They're
pro-Russian?
anti-NATO. I found out that they are anti-NATO, and it's just not one band; it's a whole collective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact is, they also re-released the debut demo of Coroner, Death Cult,
Yeah.
which came before their album. So the label had actually, they also released Stone Magnum, which is a very Candlemass. So they were very much in the exact style of music I was going for. Bands in the vein of Coroner from Switzerland, Celtic Frost. But then I found out that they have a very extreme and profound anti-NATO. And they basically collectively stripped out all the. I did logos for about 10 bands,
Yeah.
and all the 10 bands have ditched their logo, and they replaced their logo by a different designer.
Well. I mean, in terms of other politics, you obviously dealt a lot with the black metal scene. I mean, how do you feel about some of your artwork being entangled with some of those figures? You know, obviously Faust, for example, pretty notorious for his actions in the past. Has that ever been a problem for you? Have you ever had any problems with people criticizing that?
Faust, is that a band? Because I worked with a band called Faust.
Oh no,
from
sorry,
Italy.
the drummer who was guilty of the murder in the park in Norway.
Yes, Faust from Bart Faust from Emperor.
Yeah. So,
To be
have any of the
honest,
politics of those bands ever been a problem for you? Have you encountered any issues?
it's very hard to say. My focus is mostly people who are supporting the Russian invasion against Ukraine, and there are quite a few bands in that category actually in the USA.
Right. Okay.
I actually found on Facebook, I bumped on a collective Metal for Trump.
Wow. That's an appealing category.
Yep. Yeah, and there were bands playing old school heavy metal, really old school heavy metal. You know, bands in the around the footsteps of bands like Hallow's Eve, at war,
Mhm.
Forestry, to mention a British band, Deadly Blessing, which is a band I really enjoy because Kieslowski, the singer, was also a singer during a long time in a Judas Priest tribute band called Metal Gods.
Mhm.
And that was a real early Judas Priest tribute. They were playing all the old Judas Priest. And they also played in Europe because they were so excellent.
Yeah. It's pretty disappointing when you have something like that you enjoy. I'd imagine there must be a fair bit of that kind of pro-Russian sentiment from Serbian bands as well, because there's quite a lot of connections there.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people in Serbia are strongly pro-Russian.
Yeah.
Especially in the black metal scene. They are anti-NATO and they support. They openly support Russia. Some of them are actually gone to Russia to fight on the Russian side.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a lot of Serbians.
Mhm.
Because and also some Serbians want to create a corridor between Serbia and Russia.
Right,
There are several Serbian people who consider themselves as Russian, and they write in Cyrillic.
Mhm.
So yeah, so your focus is mainly on the modern issues around the conflict in Ukraine, but that 90s movement that was so problematic with, especially in the Norwegian scene with the church burnings, and I guess
Yes,
a lot of the kind of bands that came up. I mean, there were a few Polish bands that you know really upset a lot of people. Was it Absurd, maybe in Graveland and bands like that?
Absurd are actually from Germany,
The German,
but in Poland there is a band called Capricornus
right?
with the former drummer of Graveland. Rob Darken was also had very Eastern ideology,
Yeah,
kind of. But you see, these bands have one thing: they even if they are NS black metal, their music is absolutely amazing. It's so powerful, and it's like a forbidden fruit.
wow. So you find yourself drawn to it regardless.
It's very hard to say because I don't want to venture too much into the subject. I'd rather prefer to focus on a few things, is standing with Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that, except some things, like standing against Donald Trump, because he's for me an absolute orange crusty ballsack. Especially he's the reason why the climate is going completely wrong, and he's also cutting funds for international help.
Yeah.
And that's because of him. The Ebola problem in Africa has now rocketed to proportion that never have been reached before.
Yeah, with the cuts to AI. Yeah.
Yeah, cutting the international aid.
So I think to just wrap this up, as I said, with your books, we'll just turn to them to finish here. You've a book in production just now. That'll be coming out in Heavy Metal Artwork Publishing.
Yes.
You obviously have Lord of the Logos, which was 2011, as you said. It was followed by a book called Archaic Modernism. Can you briefly describe how the two books differ? And can you maybe explain that phrase, archaic modernism, a bit? What does that mean to you?
Archaic modernism came as an idea when I was in New Zealand and I saw how Maori traditional kohu form and tribal art was perfectly merging with Art Deco, especially in the city of Napier. And first it was ancient modernism, but then archaic modernism came extremely well. So that concept sort of developed in my head. And I came up with the idea of the logo. And in 2018, 2018, I had a chat with Alex Milazzo, and we concluded that starting writing a book was a great idea, and I was having all my notes. I'm a very bad writer, so I needed to have somebody to help me to kind of make out of my chaotic notes something a lot more consistent. So Archaic Modernism, as opposed to Lord of the Logos, is a book with some proper text and not just illustration, which means it's something dynamic, as opposed to Lord of Logo, which is a static coffee table book that can be enjoyed as an old photo album back in the 70s and 80s. That makes a very big difference.
And Oracles in Black, when it does appear, how will that differ again? What is the main kind of sense behind that?
The sense is here an idea that my publisher Alex Milazzo has suggested. So he sent me an interview with lots of very in-depth questions. And there are different chapters. There's about Ukraine, about the collectibility of the logos. It's about the evolution of art. So basically, it's something that I let him to, and also I've put a lot of notes. So for all my interview notes, this is something that is taking a lot of time, because this isn't something with no scheduled date, no scheduled release date just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that is kind of forming, but Alex wanted to spread the word out and to just say out there that this book is going to be available to sort of create interest.
Yeah.
And depend on the pre-sales, we'll see if this book is going to be released sooner or later.
Okay.
It all depends of the traction.
And are any of these projects, is there any portion of, are you doing any fundraising stuff for the Ukrainian causes in the meantime?
I have done many small funds, and I've been doing that with different Ukrainian people. So I've created a logo to generate merchandise, to generate money that will be donated for helping Ukrainian defenders.
I saw your blue and yellow T-shirt. It says "Make Russia Small Again."
Yes, that's actually a T-shirt I designed entirely myself.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And when I was in Florence at the Velvet Gold Mine, alongside with the artist of the year 2025, that was in January 2025, the idea of manufacturing this T-shirt in small quantity came to reality, and I actually have been sporting that T-shirt.
I saw that you had it during an interview. I noticed it was good.
Yes, and this is told the idea. On the back is Trump and Vance at a glance. To be fair, it's a horrible pair.
Yeah, I've seen one of your other illustrations of Donald Trump filleting Vladimir Putin as well.
Let me show you that. Because I have it right here. Okay, I have actually done three different artworks, and I'm openly proud of showing them, because I believe that they should be seen by as many people as possible. I've put it online on Facebook, and within a week time it's been deleted. Because now and I do have it right here, and I'm actually not ashamed. I actually very proud of that designs, but I need to sniff it out. So the first design is this one. I've done it on Valentine's Day 2025.
So why don't Foo Fighters use that for a Christmas jumper?
Very good.
I think I would love to do a bootleg.
Yeah.
I'm looking at releasing the sprites. That's number one. Number two is again Trump filleting Putin.
Mm-hmm.
And it says a lasting peace agreement in Ukraine can be definitely achieved today. Donald and I have the right person ready to step in. It's Viktor Medvedchuk. He is the ideal individual to resolve the issues caused by Zelensky. And Trump said, I totally agree with you, Matt Vlad, that we always had a good time together and that our conversations are very productive. This is unlike the rough times and problem I'm having with Zelensky. I've empowered him to be a tough guy, and I don't think he would be a tough guy without the United States. All I can say is that Zelensky doesn't have the cards. That's and the other one is this one with Trump being a fish and filleting
realistic, really.
Putin. And it says, peace deal in Ukraine only under my condition. Oh, yes, you have to suck it up. I own both the special operation and Trump. That's what Putin says. And Trump says, oh, yes, Mad Vlad. Get the Oreshniks. Get the Oreshniks and sort it out, Giza.
Well, if you get that one made, I'll get one from my mum. I'm sure she'll be
I
really into that.
actually have them all scanned. This is actually another one. It says Trumpetin Dovboyob.
What does that mean?
Dovboyob is the same as Dovboyob is a Slavic word, means somebody who sucks and gets fucked at the same time.
Wow.
Dovboyob.
I'm not sure he's got
I
that.
have a last design that I wanted to share. And this one is very controversial because I've done it a few years ago, before even Trump gets in the power. Is this one, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Oh, wow. Prescient.
Wow.
We got Trump on one side and Kim Jong-un on the other, posturing and holding missiles.
Yeah.
And on the back, you've got the Kremlin burning.
Wow.
Burn, Kremlin, burn.
Yeah. Well, Christophe, what a way to finish. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed our little conversation.
Yes.
And yeah.
I wanted to share a last. I've done a series of logos, not just one, but
that's the terrorist state one. Yeah, I've seen that one before.
Russia is a terrorist state.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
And I've done quite a bunch of these.
Cracking graffiti.
Yeah, someone should graffiti that.
This one is really when you've got a shower of phosphorus ammunition.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So I've tried to reproduce a shower of phosphorus ammunitions.
Well, if there's anyone left in their embassies, get that on the wall. Yeah, Christophe, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for your time. That's been excellent. Sorry about the technical issues at the start, but the audience are none the wiser if I hadn't have mentioned it.
Yeah. Why did you mention it?
Christophe, I'll be in touch with you to drive you nuts with the updates to that Draga logo, but thank you for doing that. I'm really excited about seeing how that turns out. Mark, you've been a bystander caught in the creative process.
Yeah. But it's been great, no, Christophe. It's been awesome to really to chat with you. And yeah, hopefully we can get a chance to do it again soon. I like your work. I love the work you've done for the podcast, obviously, and I'm excited to see the logo for Draga as well. That should be fun.
Yeah, best of luck with Oracles in Black. I hope your pre-sales go well and you're able to see that project through. I think just it would be appropriate to say with the issues that we've covered for the folks that are listening who maybe aren't very clued up on Ukraine or the politics of the bans that we've discussed. go and educate yourself. It's an important
Check
issue.
them out. Yeah, check it all out.
Right, Christophe, thanks very much. All the best, and I'll hopefully see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Have a great evening.